In this round, you will hear the students perform the second of their 3 choices. We'll start again with our Central Regional Champion, a homeschool student from Jefferson City, with the first recitation of the round, Rose Hoyle.
I Felt a Funeral in My Brain by Emily Dickinson. I felt a funeral in my brain, and mourners to and fro kept treading, till it seemed that sense was breaking through. And when they all were seated, a service like a drum kept beating, till I thought my mind was going numb. And then I heard them lift a box and creak across my soul with those same boots of lead again. Then space began to toll as all the heavens were a bell, and being but an ear, and I and silence, some strange race, wrecked solitary here. And then a plank in reason broke, and I dropped down and hit a world at every plunge, and finished, knowing then.
Five young ladies, and 2 of them are named Mariah. What are the odds of that? This next student explains that she's enjoyed competing and watching other students share in the freedom and liberation that poetry brings as a result of the contests in this program. I love this. She says, I have been able to show students at my school that poetry is not just for baristas who wear berets. Poetry is something close and relatable that everyone can enjoy. Well, no baristas or berets here. Here's Mariah Studebaker from Oak Park High School.
Larkin-esque by Michael Ryan. Reading in the paper a summary of a 5-year psychological study that shows those perceived as most beautiful are treated differently. I think they could have just asked me. Remembering a kind of pudgy kid and late puberty, the bloody noses and wisecracks because I wore glasses. Though we all know by now how awful it is for the busty starlet no one takes seriously. The loveliest women I've lunched with, lamenting the opacity of the body. They can never trust a man's interest, even when he seems not just out for sex. Eyes focus on me above rim of wine glass. And who would want to live like this? And what does beauty do to a man? Don Juan, Casanova, Lord Byron. Those fiery eyes and steel jawlines confront a furnace of self-loathing. All those breathless women rushing to him while hubby is at the office or ball game, primed to be consumed by his beauty, while he stands next to it, watching. So maybe the looks we're dealt are best. It's only common sense that happiness depends on some bearable deprivation or defect. And who knows what conflicts great beauty could have caused, what cruelties one might have suffered from those now friends, what unmanageable possibilities smiling at every small turn. So, if I get up to draw a tumbler of ordinary tap water and think, what if this were nectar, dripping from delicious, burning fingers? Will all I've missed knock me senseless? No, of course not. It won't.
For the state and national finals, students are required to recite at least one poem that was written before the 20th century and one that is 25 lines or fewer. In some cases, one poem can satisfy both requirements at once. Students may choose from any poem within the contest anthology, and they determine the order of their selection for recitation. Inevitably, teachers, classmates, friends, and family members gain exposure to familiar as well as brand new poems as a result of this process. The next student is from Crest Ridge High School, Bailey Everhart.
The Pulley by George Herbert. When God at first made man, having a glass of blessing standing by, "Let us," said he, "pour on him all we can. Let the world's riches, which dispersed lie, contract into a span." So, strength first made a way, then beauty flowed, then wisdom, honor, pleasure. When almost all was out, God made us stay, perceiving that alone of all his treasure, rest in the bottom lay. "For if I should," said he, "bestow this jewel also on my creature, he would adore my gifts instead of me, and rest in nature, not the God of nature. So both should losers be. Yet let him keep the rest, but keep them with repining restlessness. Let him be rich and weary, that at least, if goodness lead him not, yet weariness may toss him to my breast." Thank you.
I am the master of my fate, the captain of my soul. That, of course, is a quote from the British poet William Ernest Henley. Famous American poet Maya Angelou said she gets real inspiration from that quote. And she emphasized the use of poetry as a means of introspection. Angelou says that through poetry there is healing. In the worst of times, you can see the possibility of seeing light. Now, the second recitation from Shade Lay from South Shelby High School.
Abandoned Farmhouse by Ted Kooser. He was a big man, says the size of his shoes, on a pile of broken dishes by the house. A tall man, too, says the length of the bed in an upstairs room. And a good, God-fearing man, says the Bible, with a broken back below the window, dusty with sun. But not a man for farming, say the fields, cluttered with boulders and the leaky barn. A woman lived with him, says the bedroom walls papered with lilacs, and the kitchen shelves covered in oilcloth. And they had a child, says the sandbox, made from a tractor tire. Money was scarce, says the jars of plum preserves and canned tomatoes sealed in the cellar hole. And the winter's cold, says the rags in the window frames. It was lonely here, says the narrow country road. Something went wrong, says the empty house in the weed-choked yard. Stones in the field say he was not a man for farming. Steel-sealed jars in the cellar say she left in a nervous haste. And the child, its toys are strewn in the yard like branches after a storm. A rubber cow, a rusty tractor with a broken plow, a doll in overalls. Something went wrong, they say. Thank you.
Many movies through the years have showcased poems. Sophie's Choice, Out of Africa, Dead Poets Society, $1 Million Baby, and recent films such as Coach Carter and Invictus. There's even a Poetry Out Loud poster hanging in the hallway as lead characters Edward Cullen and Bella Swan talk after science class in the first Twilight movie. Poetry meets pop culture and vampires. From Lathrop R2, here's Nick Eldridge.
Cartoon Physics, Part 1, by Nick Flynn. Children under, say, 10 shouldn't know that the universe is ever expanding, inexorably pushing into the vacuum, galaxies swallowed by galaxies, whole solar systems collapsing, all of it acted out in silence. At 10, we are still learning the rules of cartoon animation, that if a man draws a door on a rock, only he can pass through it. Anyone else who tries will crash into the rock. 10-year-olds should stick with burning houses, car wrecks, ships going down, earthbound, tangible disasters. Arenas where they can be heroes. You can run back into a burning house. Sinking ships have lifeboats. The trucks will come with their ladders. If you jump, you will be saved. A child places her hand on the roof of a school bus and drives across a city of sand. She knows the exact spot it will skid, at which point the bridge will give, who will swim to safety, and who will be pulled under by sharks. She will learn that if a man runs off the edge of a cliff, he will not fall until he notices his mistake.
In partnership with state agencies, this project challenges the perception that poetry is a marginal art by making it directly relevant to the American experience. Helping poetry regain a central presence in our culture and helping poets gain recognition for their work from a wide readership are among the specific aims. Seeing how these poems resonate through these young people, it's obvious that we are the fortunate ones and the beneficiaries of their efforts. Here is Mariah Griggs from New Madrid County Central High School.
Deliberate by Amy Uematsu. So by 16, we move in packs, learn to strut and slide in deliberate low-down rhythm talk in a syncopated beat because you want so bad to be cool, never to be mistaken for white. Even when we leave these rowdy LA streets, remember how we paint our eyes like gangsters, flash our legs in nylons, sassy black high heels, or 2-inch zippered boots, stack them by the door at night, next to Daddy's muddy gardening shoes.
The next performer enjoys many types of public speaking, including speaking contests in Future Farmers of America, announcing for school athletic events, and commercial voiceovers for a local radio station. This student indicates poetry out loud has been yet another way to use and hone important speaking skills. Here's Cameron Locke, a student from Stockton High School.
A Noiseless Patient Spider by Walt Whitman. A noiseless patient spider, I marked, where on a little promontory it stood, isolated. Marked how to explore the vacant, vast surrounding. It launched forth filament, filament, filament out of itself, ever unreeling them, ever tirelessly speeding them. And you, oh my soul, where you stand, surrounded, detached in measureless oceans of space, ceaselessly musing, venturing, throwing, seeking the spheres to connect them, till the bridge you need be formed, till the ductile anchor hold, till the gossamer thread you fling catch somewhere, oh my soul.
Poetry out loud is good for students and teachers alike. A Missouri teacher reflected on the project by saying the following: "This brings poetry off the page in a beautiful way for my students and for me. This activity changes the climate of my classroom for the entire year. I've even memorized and recited a poem or two for the kids myself. And that, to borrow from a famous poem, has made all the difference." From St. Louis University High School, this is Will Edwards.
Chicago by Carl Sandburg. Hog butcher for the world, tool maker, stacker of wheat, player with railroads in the nation's freight handler, stormy, husky, brawling city of the big shoulders. They tell me you're wicked, and I believe them, for I have seen your painted women under the gas lamps luring the farm boys. And they tell me you are crooked, and I answer yes, it is true, I have seen the gunman kill and go free to kill again. And they tell me you are brutal. And my reply is, on the faces of women and children, I have seen the marks of want and hunger. And having answered so, I turn once more to those who sneer at this, my city, and I give them back the sneer and say to them, come show me another city with lifted heads singing, so proud to be alive, and coarse, and strong, and cunning. Flinging magnetic curses amid the toil of piling job on job, here is a tall, bold slugger set vivid against the little soft cities. Fierce as a dog with tongue lapping for action, cunning as a savage pitted against the wilderness, bareheaded, shoveling, wrecking, planning, building, breaking, rebuilding. Under the smoke, dust all over his mouth, laughing with white teeth. Under the terrible burden of destiny, laughing as a young man laughs. Laughing even as an ignorant fighter laughs who has never lost a battle. Bragging and laughing that under his wrist is the pulse, and under his ribs the hearts of the people. Laughing. Laughing the stormy, husky, brawling laughter of youth, half naked, sweating, proud to be hog butcher, tool maker, stacker of wheat, player with railroads, and freight handler to the nation.
Our next competitor indicates his school makes it mandatory for every student to compete with a poetry recitation. This makes the process of choosing who will be going to regionals one that involves a great deal of competition just to become the school champion. He says the competition is the perfect medium for him, however, because he loves using his voice and also enjoys theater and performance. From Crossroads College Preparatory School, Terry Lee Watkins Jr.
The Blues Don't Change by Al Young. And I was born with you, wasn't I, blues? Wombed with you, wounded, reared and forwarded from address to address, stamped, stomped, and returned to sender by nobody else but you. Blue rider, riding me off every chance you got, you mean, old, grudgeful-hearted, table-turning demon, you. You, sexy, soul-sucking gem. Blue diamond in the rough, you are forever. You can't be outfoxed, don't care how they cut and smuggle and shine you on. You're like a shadow, too dumb and stubborn and necessary to let them turn you into what you ain't with color or theory or powder or paint. That's how you can stay in style without sticking and not getting stuck. You know how to sting where I can't scratch. And you move from frying pan to skillet the same way you move people to go to, wiggling their bodies, juggling their limbs, loosening that goose, upping their voices, opening their pores, rolling their hips and lips. They can shake their booties, but they can't shake you.
Rehearsal is an important part of preparing for a contest like this. Students work individually, get coaching from teachers, and perform in classes in their schools in preparation for the local, regional, state, and national contests. The next student we will hear from indicates she usually learns a few lines of a poem at a time, repeats the lines again and again, and then learns the next chunk of the poem. She puts them together and repeats until the whole poem is memorized. Showing us how she did this is Courtney Jonas from Ladue Horton Watkins High School.
A Barred Owl by Richard Wilbur. The warpy night air having brought the boom of an owl's voice into her darkened room, we tell the wakened child that all she heard was an odd question from a forest bird, asking of us, if rightly listened to, who cooks for you? And then who cooks for you? Words which can make our terrors bravely clear can also thus domesticate a fear and send a small child back to sleep at night, not listening for the sound of stealthy flight, or dreaming of some small thing in a claw, borne up to some dark branch and eaten raw.
That concludes the second round.